So as David said, my name is Tom Anderson. I'm the Global Solution Owner for Real Estate Solutions at SAP. Just out of curiosity, how many people in the room know who SAP is? Raise your hands. That's some here. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Just to provide you with some background, you know, SAP is actually one of the largest software companies in the world. And most of you, obviously, have not heard of us. Why? Because we run the software that is behind the scenes. Software like iTunes, right? That you go on iTunes and you buy something, all that runs through our systems, but it has its own Apple unique branding and front end to it. Or the finance systems, logistics, HR, all of those applications run on SAP software. And it's quite interesting that 76% of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system, if you think about that. So we are a massive company with some 85,000 employees around the world developing solutions that we believe help make the world run better. So I think that's what gives us a little bit of street cred, if you will, to talk about this topic. We have thousands of customers who run our real estate solutions as part of their financial package. And as the global solution owner, I'm responsible for meeting with our customers around the world and talking about what is challenging them. What do they see that's going on? What trends do they see in the world, in their industry, and in their markets, and then develop solutions that best meet their needs. And as I talk to customers around the world, it is apparent to us that the way we live, work, and conduct business is changing. One of the most radical transformations I believe that's occurring in the world is occurring under your noses today. It's being driven by two giant forces. One is demographics, and the other is technology. The demographic change that we're talking about is where people live, and the technological change is how people live and work. And if we think about this a little bit, there's some metrics that kind of bring this into perspective. We've had some great conversations today about how to improve things at a local level, how you can make improvements in your own local real estate communities, and that's awesome. But there's some factors at work that are also going to play into how you make these decisions. A couple of these things. First of all, the global population will reach 9 billion people by 2050. It is growing unbelievably fast. And no matter where you go in any metropolitan area, congestion, traffic, and housing is unbelievable. It's not uncommon for someone in Manila to take 2 hours to commute to work every day, each way, because of the congestion. No different in Jakarta, no different in many cities of the world as population grows. And what else is driving this is that 2 out of every 3 people will be living in cities by 2050. There is a mass migration of people moving out of rural areas into cities around the world. And this is driving, again, the largest asset class in the global economy, which is real estate. We think about this migration. Over 200,000 people are moving to an urban area every day globally. That's the equivalent of a New York City metropolitan area every 6 weeks. That's the headwind, I'm afraid to say, to be the downer to this whole discussion we've had today, that you're fighting with in rural communities. In that you're going to have to find ways to attract the best talent to your communities and keep them there. So some of the things that are driving this right are millennials, and the fact that today, and I love the way Tom said this earlier, that their needs will change over time, but that as of today, they're very interested in living and working in the same place and having this life experience. But one of the other drivers to this whole thing are people of my age who are saying, you know what, I have lived in a single-family residence with a half-acre or quarter-acre yard my whole life. I'm tired of mowing the lawn. I'm tired of the upkeep on a house, and I'm going to live into a more densely populated area so I can get out of those activities and enjoy life with my wife and family and friends. So these are the two things that are driving this mass migration to cities. So change is going everywhere. We know that by 2030, millennials will make up 75% of the workforce, and that they have a vastly different set of values than those of my generation. They are more purpose-oriented. And those of you within the university fully understand this group, and you know what drives them, and it's not the same thing as what drives the professors. So it's a very different group. But on top of this, it's estimated by the United Nations that by 2025, 50% of the world's occupations will no longer exist. Now think about that. What on earth can possibly be driving the fact that most of the occupations will no longer exist? It's not like we still don't need firefighters and policemen and professors and teachers and all of these different things. The nature of their work is what will change, and that will redefine what they do. So, and that is what's coming out of this next major driver, which I want to talk about, is digitalization. Digitalization is the other major headwind that you are competing against. And in your case, it's your competitive advantage. Because digitalization is changing everything. Let's take a couple examples here. 6 years ago, Airbnb didn't even exist. And now they're one of the world's largest hotel companies. And how many hotels do they own? 0. Not one hotel. They are completely transforming that industry. Another example is Uber, Lyft, and Sidecar slash 65% of San Francisco's taxi rides in only 15 months. When I go somewhere, I do not take a taxi. Why? I don't take a taxi because I want to have an app that tells me where I'm going. I never know if I'm getting in the back of a cab with Jeffrey Dahmer or whomever, and if I'm going to get there safely. But I have an app with Uber that I can see exactly where I'm going. He knows where I'm going because I don't have a communication problem in Jakarta or Bangkok or Sydney or wherever. I can tell them, order my ride, tell them where I'm going through the app, and it takes me there and it tracks where I'm going, so I feel safer. I also don't have to carry cash with me because I can bill straight to my credit card through the Uber app. This is having a significant change or impact on that whole industry. And who would think that taxi drivers would be one who would be impacted by digitalization of all people? And then 47% of U.S. employees are at risk of being replaced by artificial intelligence within 10 years. I'm going to show you an example of some software that's being, that we use, that uses artificial intelligence that absolutely is amazing. And the fact that it is able to accelerate the abstraction of leases. So if you think of yourself as a lease administrator or one who deals with contracts or a lawyer, this is something that kind of impacts you. So just a few things. So we're going to talk about some digital technologies such as machine learning, artificial intelligence. I'm not going to go much into blockchain, even though I think as communities this will be a major play for you in the near future. Internet of Things is what else we'll talk about. So the point is that it's time to lease and operate buildings in a totally, fundamentally different way. Times are changing, and we have to look at how we do things completely differently. So if we look at technology over the course of time when it comes to managing real estate, you know, back in the 90s, it was all about financial performance with our systems. Our systems were, okay, what can we do to consolidate costs, maintain, have a maintenance tool in there, maybe a computer-aided management tool, to kind of help control those costs. And then in the 2000s, it was migrated to what we call process excellence. So you came with systems that were maybe expert systems, a system that was specifically designed to handle maybe a maintenance system, but it still had to integrate. And that's a key word I want you to remember. It had to integrate with your financial system. It had to integrate with your purchasing system. There's always this IT person back there who, no matter what you were doing on the front end, had to make sure that these things hooked up and that they worked. And it's costly and expensive and difficult to do. And now we're moving today to what I'm calling the connected real estate environment. And this is a completely different model in which we are connecting, not integrating. Now you may say, well, what's the difference? Well, with the integrated system, you have to design your back ends to talk to each other and to run programs that communicate and share data together so they can report off of a single platform. Connected real estate, which I'll show you, is where you're using the cloud to take disparate information and by using some common linkages are hooking this information together. And the user experience is absolutely transparent, right? They can't tell that they jumped from system A to system B to system C because it's all connected together. And this is important and something that David will talk about in a few minutes as well, as the ability to connect data. So it will completely transform the way that you manage real estate. So how do we do this? A couple things. One is we have a digital core where the most important stuff comes in. Information from things like this a sensor. These sensors, as you'll see in a few minutes, are radically changing the way that the maintenance processes are done, or many processes are done for that matter. So if you take a sensor like this, which this one I think I paid $10, $15 for from Texas Instruments. It measures vibration, it measures temperature, it measures moisture, and it sends all these signals in the cloud to an application where it can be read. And now let's think about an HVAC unit that has sensors on it, and now all of a sudden this HVAC unit is starting to vibrate a little bit. What was the old process that would happen? Well, in most companies, what would happen is nothing. So we'd continue to let this thing rattle until the air conditioner or the heating unit stopped working. And then your tenant or someone within that building called up facilities and said, it's hot in here, send somebody to fix it. And then the person who sits within the facilities group would call up Dave's HVAC repair, and he'd say, oh, okay, I'll send somebody over there. And he comes over and he looks at it and says, oh man, it's the fan belt assembly we have to replace. I have to go get that part. And then he goes back and he gets that part. Maybe he's lucky enough it's in his warehouse, or else he has to go buy a new piece. And then he comes back and repairs it. Right? Sound familiar? With sensors, this completely changes. And this is what's going to drive this massive change in our workforce. Because what happens now is this little sensor starts to vibrate. And it gets read by your computer system, which says, oh, this is out of tolerance. I need to trigger a maintenance support. So it goes through what we call a business network. We have a company called Ariba, which has 150,000 real estate service providers globally, that triggers them automatically, bypasses the facilities department and says, this air conditioning unit on this part of it is failing, order the part and come and schedule the work. He shows up with the part, performs the work. He then online marks it being done. It routes to the facility manager at the facility where he says, okay, it's fixed, signs off, and it automatically sends the invoice to accounts payable to be paid. What have we done? We've completely eliminated the person who sits within facility management and completely eliminated that accounts payable person who has to enter the invoice. And the accounts receivable person on the supplier who has to call up and say, where's my money? That is what's going to have a massive impact. And think about every place where this touches. These little sensors can be in coffee machines, soda fountain machines, bathrooms, so when the dispenser goes out. So instead of routing somebody every 2 hours to go and clean the bathroom, they'd only do it when the bathroom's been used. In Dubai, it's interestingly enough that they actually have to, for religious reasons, they wash before they have their prayers. Okay? So every 2.5, 3 hours, water goes everywhere in the bathrooms as they wash themselves, and there's some poor guy who goes through all the bathrooms and he cleans up all the bathrooms all through the building. But he has to check every single one in case it's been used. Not every one is used. So think about just the time savings involved in that scenario, or a sports stadium, but when there's a lot of usage versus not a lot of usage of restrooms. So sensors will change a lot of different things, but the point that I want to have here is that you have to have a digital core, be able to handle all these transactions and report off of it. And then you need to be able to branch off of these things, a business network, or your supply chain, or your customer service interaction. So I'm going to talk about 4 different ways in which I'm going to give you technological examples of how we're using technology to manage some of these processes. The first one that I'm going to talk about is around space management. So space management, this is, David talked to a little bit about it, being Cloud for Real Estate, which is a new product that we released earlier this year. And essentially we're taking your real estate information, make it public cloud, and enables you to be able to buy a subscription price. But that's all nice, but I'm not here to sell software, I'm here to talk about technology. Okay, so I want to go in and we're going to log on. So, because I want you to understand this connected real estate story and the impact that's going to have on you. So I'll log on to Cloud Solution. And the first thing that I want you to understand is that we're bringing together location information, geo-mapping it, and then at the same time bringing across the cost, area, occupancy, workplace information in one place. Why is this important? Well, because these sensors are not only important for facility management, these sensors are also going to change the way that people work. We had a lot of discussion today about technology centers and innovation centers. Well, the fact of the matter is that people, the nature of where they work is changing. And they are no longer going to work for time, but intensity. Okay, think about that. It's no longer important to be there for time, it's important to be there for intensity. For example, I am assigned to an office in Palo Alto, California. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I never go to my office. I never go there. Why would I? But my team sits in Waldorf, Germany, outside Frankfurt. I go there a lot. So when I go there, I spend a lot of hours in intensive work, and then I go back home. I can work anywhere at any time, but I go to an office for intensive work where I need to work with colleagues, and then I go back to be where I can do whatever. So it's called third place working, right? I can be anywhere at any time to work. That's the trend, especially in technology, and it will enable communities like this to thrive because you have a place to come together to work an intensive type of work and be able to then go back and have a really nice lifestyle. So I'm back at the total global area, and notice that I have my map where my different locations are, and as I was talking about costs and area information and workplace information. I'm going to drill into Europe, I'm going to drill into Germany, I'm going to drill into my innovation center in Potsdam. And we see where these buildings exist along the beautiful lake here, and I'm going to click on my building 4 in Potsdam. So the first thing that I see is a picture of the building, what it looks like, as well as the details related to that building. Now here's what's important. Because facilities are not being used as much, it's estimated that up to 40% of the space within a corporate facility is not being used at any single point in time. 40%. You walk around, no one's sitting there, no one's in a meeting there, no one's using it, but it's being paid for. So there's a massive drive to consolidate space and reduce corporate space. That too will have a massive impact on commercial real estate companies and how they structure their portfolios. So by using sensors, you'll be able to better use your space inside. So notice I'm able to see what my space components are, the capacity, the occupancy at any certain point in time, as well as the costs associated with that. Also, if you have contracts related to that facility, you can see those contracts as well as any related documents. But I want to take you to some piece of technology that's going to blow your mind, and then we'll go to another one that will completely blow your mind. So I'm working with a company that does deep learning using artificial intelligence. And they have come up with a tool that actually reads, I can't type and talk at the same time, that actually reads your lease agreement and understands by the words that are being used what the context is, and then can abstract that agreement for you. So it's not searching using OCR technology to find start date or contract. It's reading the words that are put together to understand that commencement date as of means this is the contract start date. And that agreement between a landlord means, by and between means, this is the landlord, this is the tenant. It understands that and is able to not only tag it and take unstructured data and put it into a system, but also is able to link that data together. So, for example, if I want to look on the size of the space, I can click on that. And notice that now it will take me straight to where that sits within that agreement. What's amazing, though, is it can do this in 18 different languages. So it knows within Portuguese, here's the context of the language, structure it, and will put it back into a system of another language. That is incredible technology. And I have to say that if I was a lawyer, I'd be a little concerned. Because if you deal with the abstraction of leases and the maintenance of legal agreements, this kind of technology will actually change the way you conduct business. Because you can now load a lease into a system in what would take you normally 2.5 to 3 hours in under 5 minutes. And the review time is cut back also radically based on this kind of technology. The other interesting thing about it is it can determine what kind of document you're dealing with. So maybe I have a lease contract, I have a renewal option, I have a termination option, changes in terms and conditions. By reading it, it knows how to classify it, put it in the right place, and then load it in the system and compare it. So this kind of technology is phenomenal, and to me it's absolutely incredible that this is it. But this is the kind of thing we're talking about when we say digitalization. And I neglected to say when I talk about digitalization what I really mean. When I say digitalization, I mean the removal of an individual from a process. That's cold and that's hard, but that's what digitalization is. I'm removing an attorney from from the abstraction process. I'm removing a facility manager from the ordering process, an accounts payable clerk from the payment process. This is what will totally change jobs that are out there and transfer or change the way they do business. Okay. Let's go to the next thing I want to talk about, which I go back to my contract. The next piece of technology that is also quite interesting, that is the use of virtual reality. And I want to demonstrate to you a technology that enables you to walk through a building virtually for wayfinding, as well as to understand where the spatial relationships are between items within a building. So I'm going to go back into my system here, location. And working with a startup company in Berlin, Germany. Oh, really? Let me try one more time. I apologize. It worked just a minute ago, of course. This is what happens when you do things live. Being available for anything. All right. So I'm going to go back. Maybe it'll work for me in a second. So, I talked about the abstraction pieces that you can use, and we'll try to get in a minute, but essentially what you have here is they take a trolley through a building, and it records three-dimensionally the building as it walks through. And you're able to then click through that building virtually to see anything within it at that point in time. Or say, take me to see so-and-so, and it'll take you to that place within the building virtually. We'll try to come back to that in just a second. And then the last thing that I wish to talk about is the use of sensors and the ability to use sensors and combine that with spatial information to get unique insights into a facility. So, for example, so if we so you have a building here and the ability to actually manipulate and work through that building and peel back the different layers of that building to understand the makeup of it, as well as incorporate transactional or sensor information at the same time to be able to understand what is causing something to fail on that. Why is that one going? So, I'm going to leave it here, and if you have questions about those two pieces, I'll be glad to demonstrate them to you. But 6 points I want you to just take away, and then I'll turn the time over to David real fast, is that the way we work, live, and conduct business is changing, being driven by massive technological changes, as well as digitalization is radically changing how real estate is operated and managed. You will see significant changes in how real estate is operated in the near future because of technology. Real estate's moving away from a process-based system to a connected real estate environment. And be able to, anybody, to connect different applications together will have a significant impact on how you operate your businesses. Machine learning will, again, also radically change the lease administration process as well as any legal process or process where you take unstructured data and have to convert it to structured data. And then the visualization combined with use of sensors simplifies and enables users to absorb and understand complex data. So let me, just one last, hoping that this works for you. If not, we'll have to do it on our own. Because I want you to see the visualization piece, and then we'll wrap up. Or turn the time over to David. So anyways, David will turn over to you and then we'll do questions afterwards.
Yeah, maybe.
Or do you want to do them now?
You can try and see if somehow that'll work and then we'll just re-plug it.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you.